Hey everybody, welcome behind the scenes here at Jamie Riddler Studios. I am Jamie and it is good to be here with you today. Last week, as those of you who are on my newsletter know, last week I hurt my hand and it threw me it threw me out of the game. It threw me out of the conversation. It threw me out of everything, it felt like. Hey Asher. And it's feeling quite a bit better, but I'm still being very, very careful with typing and gripping and grasping and stuff like that. But it made me think about a couple of things I want to share with you. One, the obvious one, is self-care. Because chances are I hurt my hand by, surprise, surprise, overusage. And I've been really thinking about how we show up to ourselves, how we show up to our community, including our loved ones, how we show up to the world, how we show up to the work. And how do we balance, there's that pesky word, how do we balance the ability to tend to ourselves, to tend to our loved ones, to tend to our responsibilities, and to be a part of the world. And I think that all of these things are important. And, I talk to a lot of people who are coming back to their creativity after a long, long time of it not being a part of their lives. And it takes us something to sort of stretch a little, like break in a little space into your life and open it up and get time to paint or write or do your photography or sew or whatever it is, or start a business. And it's, even though the focus there is creativity, it's representative of us finding space for ourselves in our life. And in Mindful Mondays, I can see everybody. We're on Zoom and I can see everybody. And that would be a moment where I go, how many of you relate to that? And I'd see the hands go up. And then there's the other side of that too, where we are so insular, right? We are so in the thing that we need to do for ourselves that we have no capacity to lift up our eyes and look around. Often it's also we're so involved in taking care of our responsibilities, our family, our loved ones. We can't look up and look around and be a part of the world and a part of what's going on. And right now the world is asking us to be a part of what's going on. And I think all of this speaks to the fact that we fill our plates too full on a regular and ongoing basis. We have not built in wiggle room. We have not built in space to deal with crisis. We have not built in space to deal with injury. We have not built in space to handle any mishaps, never mind building in space to handle any magic, any opportunity, any good fortune, any something that shows up and you're like, you know what, I want to do that. We're so packed full that it's hard for us to be responsible, right? To be responsive to the situation at hand. And part of being a creative being in the world is being responsive. And how many of you have had this experience too? And it can be super frustrating and it's also super real. It's like, let's say you're in a class, or if any of you have done theater or improv or something, and you've got like, you see that the conversation's here and you've got something you want to say about it, but you have to wait for it to come around to you. And then by the time it comes around to you, the conversation has moved. It's shifted. We're somewhere else entirely, but you're holding on to this nugget you fell in love with that you want to share. So sometimes you put it out there because you just got it, and it kind of goes clunk, because that moment has passed, or you hold it back and you're frustrated and you're holding onto it so tight you don't have room to come up with that next response. As creative beings, one of the gifts we have is that we can be present in the moment, and we can adjust, and we can be responsive. But we need those things, a few of the things I've talked about, in order to be able to do that. We need to, as best we can, be self-tended. So we are, have you heard people say this, resourced, right? So we're resourced. We have some energy. We got sleep last night. We've eaten. We're hydrated. We are healthy as we can be, and we can respond. We are available to the situation at hand. And then the other thing is that there's some spaciousness, so that we can say, oh, okay, you know what? No problem. I'm going to move what I was going to do till 3 o'clock. I'll show up at 11. I am there. Thank you for this opportunity. I can do it. We have some spaciousness built in. And the truth is, have you ever had found time? You know, when you're really booked, let's say, and then a friend cancels at you at the last minute, and you're like, you know, I'm not so upset about that, because I'm actually really excited to have an extra 2 hours in my life right now. It's kind of awesome to have that found time. If we build that in, we will enjoy it, right? We will get something out of it. So having some spaciousness in the mix so that you have flexibility in order to respond. And then the other piece here, I think, is being unattached. It's a hard one. For some of us, for me, sometimes, this can be hard. And it's not always easy, but it does allow us to be present. Instead of staying attached to what was, we can be present to what is. We can be available to what is. And whenever we move from what was to what is, there's an emotional something in the letting go. Maybe it's relief. Maybe it's mourning. Maybe it's anger. There's lots of feelings, a feeling state that happens when we're letting go of what was. But being present is where life is. Being present is where interaction is possible. Being present is where we can create from. And I know I talked about that last week. One of the things that I always feel like I have to bring up is we think that pursuing our creative lives should be all fun and play and colors and sparkles and unicorns. And I love that. And oftentimes it is. Oftentimes it is. But it is also the real amazing hard work of building something out of your heart, something out of the materials of your life, something out of the inspiration you get out of the day, the moment, and responding to it. It is a intense and beautiful and sacred and demanding and rewarding and beautiful way of showing up in the world. So just to go back to the earliest thing I said and give it just a little bit more form, part of this dance is figuring out, and I'm totally know this because I'm not good at it and I'm trying to figure it out. So if you have great strategies, leave them in the comments. I would love to hear. You have needs. Your loved one you have needs. Your loved ones have needs. You have responsibilities with your work. Maybe your work has needs, and the world has needs. How do we show up for it all? How do we not opt out? How do we not leave ourselves out? How do we not leave out our creative work? How do we not leave out our must-dos, our sustenance needs? How do we not leave out this beautiful world and being a part of it? How do we not leave out our loved ones? And how do we manage when the demand is high, intense, and sustained. I know, for example, when my mom, when my mom had cancer, and we as a family rallied. She stayed at home until she passed away. And it wasn't sweet or romantic. It was hard. It was not a Hallmark movie. It was hard. And it was very hard in those moments seeing and being with a real, strong, and important need to include, I'll just speak for myself, to include myself at all. To think I was allowed, like I may be aware of my hunger, my tiredness, my sadness, my frustration. I'm aware of it, but I almost feel like I don't have a right to it, because my mom was suffering more. So, but that didn't help me show up better. It didn't help me support her in a more beautiful way. So including myself in the care plan mattered. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much energy in a day. It doesn't mean it's not worth trying to figure out. I mean, we can do hard things. You've probably heard people say that. We can do hard things. And one of the ways we can do that is by not filling our lives so full with so many demands on a regular basis that we have no capacity to do any more. Where it's like constantly being in debt, right? Constantly going to debt a little bit more. Isn't it like, how can we build our nest egg of energy? How can we build our nest egg of time so that we can be truly present and able to respond where there is need in a way where we can show up with the best we have to offer on a regular, ongoing basis. So that's what I'm thinking about today. That's what happens when I hurt my thumb, and I hurt my hand, is I have to try to figure out, what does this mean and what is it teaching me, and what can I share that may be of service? So I hope there was something in here that was useful to you. In these behind the scenes, I'm always a bit off the cuff. And I want to say thank you so much to everybody who read the newsletter and who wrote to me with so much love and care and concern. I really so appreciate it. I really am fine. I just need some downtime and to take my own advice here. It's like, this is how we do, right? We get into the studio. This is how we do it, right? We get into the studio together and we work it out. I would love to hear your wisdom, your thoughts, how you find that kind of balance, how you show up, how you nourish yourself. I'd love to hear how you found your way through caring for yourself, caring for your loved ones, caring for your work, sustenance work, creative work, whichever work is a part of your life, and engaging and being a part of the world. I know one of the ways that helps is if there's overlap in those things. Okay, that is what I have to say this week. Thanks again for all the love and well wishes for healing. If you have been sending me some emails, please be patient. I am taking some time away from typing, and I will get back to everybody as soon as I can. Thanks so much. Bye.